How's it going, guys? Thanks for stopping by the channel. So this video is really meant to be just a quick unboxing of my latest Grand Seiko purchase. And it's also my first kick at the can for owning a Grand Seiko that utilizes a high beat automatic movement. Now in the past, I've owned a few Grand Seikos that have had spring drive or their high accuracy 9F quartz movement. In fact, the watch on my wrist today is the SBGN 003, which is a 9F quartz movement with their in-house GMT complication, and I absolutely love this timepiece. So before opening up the box and showing you guys the watch, I'll just show you some of the literature that comes with it. If you do buy a Grand Seiko with a high beat movement, you can expect to get one of these inspection certificates. You can see the caliber utilized for this watch is the 9S85. This is also a limited edition watch that I picked up, so I have a serial number 845 out of a total of 1,500 pieces. Now you do also get the 9S operating instructions for the caliber, as well as the warranty and certificate of guarantee. This watch was originally purchased from an authorized dealer in Toronto, Ontario, when the watch was released last year. Alright, so without further ado, check out the watch, guys. This is the Grand Seiko Superman, also known by the reference number SBGH281. Now I also want to show you that this is a 60th anniversary watch. It's one of the few that was released in this line. You can also pick up one with the 9F movement that carries that classic 44GS Grand Seiko case. So I really love the design of this watch. You do get the nickname the Superman because of that very deeply saturated blue sunburst dial with red contrast accents like that you see on the red tip seconds hand, and also just above a 6 o'clock it does have automatic and high beat 3600 printed on the dial in red. And then just to add a little bit more visual interest, you have the Grand Seiko or the GS logo that's applied in yellow just below the 12 o'clock position. And you have beautifully hand applied hour indices across the dial that are kind of like long batons, but you can see that they're multifaceted and they play with the light very well. Note that you also have some razor sharp hands as well for the hour and the minute hand. They're like dolphin style hands, but they're polished to a mirror-like finish on the edges, and then they are finely brushed on the tops as well. There's no lume on this watch, which is actually the first Seiko or Grand Seiko I owned that doesn't have any lume applied to it. But given the high contrast dial as well as those expertly polished and multifaceted indexes, you can still read the time quite well. So if you're not aware with the history around Grand Seiko, the 44GS case was popular in their late 1960s and 70s models. You can see the form of the case has very pronounced lugs that are quite angular. There's quite a fair bit of high polish on the tops of the lugs and the fixed bezel, with Grand Seiko's Zuratsu mirror-like finishing. Now, if I'm being honest, this is more like my initial impressions because saying it's an unboxing isn't necessarily the full story because I purchased this from another local watch enthusiast. These watches did sell out quite quickly, but you can see he kind of scuffed up the fixed bezel portion near the 1 and 2 o'clock position. But I do think having some scratches will add character to this watch. The case diameter is 40 millimeters, so it's quite wearable for a variety of different wrist sizes. Flipping to the side, the lug-to-lug is about 46 millimeters, although if you include the male end links for the supplied bracelet, it does shoot out past the case ever so slightly. Now the case thickness is a little taller than I imagined. I measure it at 13.8 millimeters. That is partially because you have a sapphire crystal display back. So you do get to partially see the 9S85 movement that has about 37 joules. It's regulated in 6 positions, and I'm also really impressed that it comes with a 55-hour power reserve, given that this is such a high frequency movement. Now, I'm not a huge fan that Grand Seiko put their lion logo stamped on the case back in the middle and the 60th anniversary text there, because it does partially obstruct just seeing how well finished this movement is. So here's a quick wrist shot for you guys. And for reference, my wrist is 19 centimeters in circumference, or about 7.5 inches. And you can see that I think this watch sits very well. And it does give you some wrist presence just with that 44 GS style case and that very dynamic dial. Now I do want to quickly mention a minor annoyance I have is that the lug opening for the supplied bracelet is 19 millimeters. So finding aftermarket strap options might be a little bit more cumbersome. That's actually the same story with my SBGN 003. But all that being said, I found with this 9F GMT watch, it really lives on the bracelet and it's very comfortable that way. So I'm fairly sure that's going to be a similar story with the Superman, keeping it on the bracelet. But anyways guys, that's just a quick unboxing and overview of this watch that I just picked up. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel so you are notified when I do the full review for this timepiece.